Hey there, this is Ryan on episode 24 of No Code, No Problem. Today's episode is brought to you by Adalo. Adalo is a powerful no-code tool that you can use to build mobile and web apps in minutes. I featured Adalo on episode 2 before they were a sponsor. I'd recommend you check them out at adalo.com. I'll have the link in the description. So for today's episode, I have a familiar face in the no-code community. JT, I'm sure you've seen him on Twitter, but go ahead and say hello to everyone.
Hey Ryan, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. So JT, he does a lot of awesome stuff in the no-code space and super active on Twitter. And so I want to start by, asking you kind of how you've gotten in the no-code space, your background. So if you'd like to fill us in on that.
Sure. So my background is that I'm not technical. So I guess I'm an entrepreneur. That's kind of always been my thing, that I've always wanted to start things. I started my first kind of business about 12 years ago, and that was literally just a Facebook page back then. And then I've gone through various other projects that I've started. Most of them were failures. And then I've always used tools along the way that just to help me get what I wanted to do done. And so before the no-code movement kind of started, I was using things like Squarespace and WordPress to build some of those businesses out. And then more recently, I discovered Bubble, and then got into the whole no-code thing that's been happening, and just discovered the incredible power of those kind of tools that you can actually build. I think the thing that's incredible is that you can't. I always seem to be doing workarounds with previous projects, like trying to make something work, whereas now with the tools available, you can literally do whatever's in your head. You can just build it without needing a dev. So that's what's brought me to this point.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah. Have you ever considered, I know you said that you've done a lot of these projects solo. Did you ever consider, whenever you said you're non-technical, did you ever consider bringing on a technical co-founder for any of your previous businesses, or did you always just want to kind of do it yourself? That way you could have complete control.
It's a good question. I kind of did and didn't. My thing is that I don't really have that many friends who are devs or who would be interested in starting something up. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it would be connecting with a stranger, and it never seemed a route that I was comfortable with, that they would have the complete knowledge of how everything's working. And I wouldn't really know that much of what's going on, and I would just be the business end. So, if I knew people that, now I do know people, but at that point I didn't. So it wasn't really something I considered.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I tried learning code a few times as well, and obviously I know a bit of code, picking things up along the way, but it always seemed like too long a runway to actually get something off the ground when you've got to spend a year learning the codes before you can start building.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why Bubble is so great.
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of getting into, you've had past projects and you have a lot of current projects. So to name a few, you have nocodefounders.com. It's the Slack community. nocodejobs.co, nocodemeetups.co, remotecircle.com, earnestly.co, and openstacks.co.
Yeah.
So how do you manage all that, Yeah. I don't even, just go ahead. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Okay. So, so the background to all of that is, so I had a site, remotecircle.com. That was my first Bubble project. Mm-hmm. And then from doing that, I kind of stepped into the no-code space a bit. So, and I discovered this amazing thing that was going on, and I wanted to find a way to connect with people. So that's when I started the No-Code Founders Slack. And that's became my main project, basically. That's my main project. And then from that, I wanted to do, Peter Levels. Do you know Peter? Are you familiar with his work? So he runs like Remote OK and Nomad List.
No, actually.
Okay, well, he's a prolific maker, and like he just always churned out loads of startups, and I always liked the idea of just being able to release loads of things and test things and see what worked.
Yeah.
So I partnered with Bubble at the end of last year to build 5 no-code apps, and that's where the other projects have all came from. So they're, like, in my eyes at the moment, they're just side projects. They're not. I built them and I don't spend much time on them, but I'm just hoping they're going to be something that's kind of useful for the community. Absolutely. But yeah, so those were just build projects basically. So they don't take up a lot. Yeah. I've actually got another one as well, which is going to launch soon, but and then it's on the way. But I'm going to try and stop building. Like, people keep on asking me to build things, and I say yes, but I just need to it's because it's getting out of hand. So
yeah. So talking about launching, you've obviously launched a number of things. So I kind of wanted to talk about, from like a maker perspective, how do you use Product Hunt? What do you think Product Hunt should mean for you? So if you launch something on Product Hunt, if it's number one, that's great. If it's not number one, like, just kind of tell me your thought process behind that, and what you think of Product Hunt and like launching, like how do you measure success for a launch, or do you measure?
Yeah. I've launched maybe 4 things on Product Hunt, and some, or maybe more than that actually, but some things are just like completely get lost. I've had one number 1 launch, and then I think one number 4, one number 5, or something like that. And the number 1 launch was earnestly.co, and that's a product that isn't monetized at all. And I don't really have any clear revenue stream to how I could monetize that. So, like, if you're looking at that as a business perspective, it's not a successful launch at all. Like, traffic-wise, it got a load of traffic, it got a load of good feedback, it got a load of constructive feedback, and I think constructive feedback is probably one of the best things that comes out of Product Hunt launches, is that the people in the community, in the Product Hunt community, are genuinely interested in finding new products, and they have good knowledge of what makes a product good and not, and they provide feedback that's really insightful. So I think there's a lot of kind of thinking about, like, you've got to get to number 1 on Product Hunt, or like trying to game the system, but really the biggest value you're getting is from connecting with potential users, and getting feedback from them and making the product better. So yeah, I don't think the number 1 slot is necessarily all that's hyped up to be, but I mean, from a traffic perspective, it does work. It definitely works. Yeah. Like, I think the Earnestly launch maybe got 10,000 unique users on day 1 from that. So so I mean, it's pretty crazy from that perspective.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, I definitely think that, Product Hunt can help a lot, but I don't think that it should be, the only metric that you use to measure success when launching. So I'd have to agree with you there. So whenever you are going into starting something new, like, remote circles, no code jobs, no code meetups, whatever. So, like, what is your process look like in terms of, like, identifying a problem that you want to solve, and then, picking out that problem specifically from the rest of all the other ideas you have?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I make a note of every idea I have, and then I put them into 3 lists, which is likely, maybe, and then unlikely. And I decide that based on, like, if it's a project that I want to monetize, how easy is that going to be to monetize? Mm-hmm. And then the product market fit I would say so. I wouldn't create something that already exists just because I want to do it. So, if there's already something in the market that's doing basically the exact same thing and it's doing it well, then I don't really see much point in coming into the market with something similar, unless you've got a unique offering. Because not only are you giving yourself unnecessary competition, but you're not actually being useful if the thing already exists. So I guess for me it would be identifying an area that's maybe underserved. So I guess in this, using no code meetups as an example, that's just a simple site, and it took 6 or 7 hours to build probably. And the idea with that is there's already people out there hosting meetups, and there's already people displaying those meetups on their site. But I just wanted to create a simple place where all those people could post their meetups in a centralized place, basically. And it's just something that provides a small amount of value to the no-code community. So I think that's as simple as that. That if you are providing value, if the thing can provide value, then that's really enough to build it. And the only other thing would be like how difficult a build it is. So you can kind of create a quadrant of like, is this thing going to be really hard to build and produce a small amount of value? It's probably not worth building. But if it's simple to build, and even if it provides a small amount, then it might be worth it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of the times they look at the big picture, and like you were saying, if you just created another meetup app, there are already meetup apps that people use, but the fact that you chose something niche, you know what I'm saying? In terms of no code meetups, if I just created a podcast about me sitting here and bullshitting for 5 minutes every day, I highly doubt nobody would listen to that. But people like niche things for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah, I think that's good. So I guess I asked you this earlier, but I was just curious, how do you juggle, I saw on your Twitter, you're a dad, you have all these side projects going on, how do you juggle everything you do? Do you recommend any tools to stay organized, or is it just an old fashioned notebook? What helps you get through the day?
Yeah. So not a lot of people know this, but I've got 3 kids, and 2 of them are twin boys that are just 5 months old. So okay. My life at the moment is genuinely crazy. And I do also work full time. So these are all side projects in essence. So the juggling thing is a major issue, and I've spent so much time. I'm one of these people that I'm quite tool obsessed, so I try everything, and then I spend so much time setting everything up that I end up actually not getting anything done. So I've just settled with a small stack of tools, and then I've started trying to automate a few things. So there's a guy in the no-code community, Michael Gill, who completely inspired me with his, he runs No Code Coffee, the newsletter, daily newsletter. Yeah. So he shared his YouTube video of how he automates that daily newsletter, and it's incredible. So I've started trying to do some automation where I'm not losing quality, but it just speeds things up. But my basic stack is, so I use Asana for tracking everything that I need to do. And I don't actually like it. I don't like Asana that much. It's just feels like overkill. But I can't be bothered moving to another tool now. Unless something good comes along, that's going to be worth the time to shift everything over. But otherwise, so yeah, I use Asana, and then I've got Airtable, basically as my database for everything that I'm doing. I use Buffer for social media. What else? TweetDeck for Twitter. MailerLite for my newsletter. and I've